Whether you're looking for a new main to pick up in 2024 or you just want extra tips on every character that you could play, this video is going to give you one tip for every single agent. So let's get right into it. And the first category we got to talk about is controller, and we're going to talk about Harbor first. And a pretty strong strategy that's going around right now is Gekko Wingman planting the spike plus Cove covering the Gekko Wingman. This is an interesting combo where you can hold angles with your team. No one has to actually go onto site and risk dying. No one actually has to commit to the plant either. Everyone gets to hold the angles with their guns up, and you're going to gather information at the very least. And most of the time, you're going to be able to secure that plant. It's super powerful. Definitely something that I would suggest whipping out in a duo. Now, there are a lot more tips on the SkillCapped website, especially if you really want to get to Immortal. We have a guide that is made exactly for you, breaking down pro players' VODs, teaching you step by step exactly how to get better. And the best thing about it is we offer a rank improvement money back guarantee. So if you just don't climb, you don't pay at all, which is actually freaking nuts that we offer that. So what are you waiting for? Check it out right now down below. Now, the next character that we do got to talk about is Brimstone, and while there's not a lot of crazy intricate text or tips I can give you on Brimstone, the thing that is underrated actually is stim beaconing your utility. Namely, stim beaconing things like a sky dog, for instance, is going to allow it to gather a crazy amount of information, rush someone down, and it's going to go so damn fast they're not going to expect it. It's going to reach farther areas than people would expect, and it's actually pretty powerful. And there's other bits of utility that you can do as well. Most deployables you can actually speed up, so definitely keep those things in mind. Oftentimes it can be worth that investment. Next up, we do got to talk about Astra, and one thing that I'll say is when you're trying to pull people off the defuse, you need to make sure to wait 2 seconds after the tap. And the reason that you do this is, one, if someone just fake taps, they might get back on it, you'll get some value out of that suck. And number two, you're only trying to pull them off of the spike at specifically the half mark, so you don't want to do it right away. You want to wait those 2 seconds, pull them off. If they tried to commit to the half, then they have to reset, and you're going to get some added value because you do it. Next up, we do got to talk about Viper, and a peak that a lot of Viper mains use, especially if you're not necessarily trying to use your orb for anything in particular. You're just trying to challenge space. You're just trying to take a duel. You throw your smoke down, you walk in your smoke, and you pick up the orb, and then the smoke is going to fade, and it fades really quickly, and you're going to be able to take a challenge, and you can kind of just do this over and over again. Opponents are not going to know where to hold. If you kind of have a little bit of information about where they are, you can basically do this over and over again and consistently use your orb to help you challenge certain angles, and it's really freaking strong. Now, the next controller that we definitely got to talk about is Omen, and one of the things that we're seeing in pro play is Omen players getting really aggressive post utility. They use their paranoia to help their teams get on site, they use their smokes, and then after that, they're not afraid to just teleport onto site, use their character to create space, help with their duelist to fight on point, and make sure that after you do your fundamental job as a controller on Omen, you can use his teleport and the ability for him to get crafty inside the point to your advantage. There's no reason that he can't start the round as a controller and end the round as a duelist. Now, next up, we do got to talk about initiators, and there's quite a few of them and some really good tips in here. First off, with Gekko, something that a lot of people still mess up for some reason is when you activate your ultimate, if you pop it, it will lunge, but if you pop it again instantly, it will insta pop. So it will jump and then pop, something that's super strong, so you don't have to wait for the full animation to go out. I think it's because people are used to Skydog, they don't realize that you can pop it while it's midair. Next up, we do got to talk about Fade, and I would say that if you're trying to get value out of your eye, specifically, you should combine it with another piece of utility, like a flash, for instance, so that enemies are put between a rock and a hard place where you're either going to guarantee gather info or blind them, and it's super powerful because it's too easy to deal with just an eye by itself. Next up, let's talk about Breach, and something that you can do, especially if the opponents are dabbling on a different site. You can just play a passive angle and hold your stun out. Look at where it's going to hit in the mini map. Just keep your eye on the mini map and just wait, and the second your team are fighting or you gather information, you insta stun off that information and help your team even if you're not playing anywhere near your teammate. That's one of the most powerful things about Breach. The next up, we do got to talk about KO, and something that a lot of Sentinels will do is they'll give away info for free, whether it's where they're playing or they're going to be jumping and jiggle peeking certain angles. You hit them with the knife and you tag that Sentinel player, and then boom, you can just say, hey, let's rush. they're gonna be having all their utility disabled. You're gonna be able to take space really easily, and then you're not even worried about it anymore. Super strong. Next up, we do gotta talk about Sova, and one thing that I would say that you should practice more of is reactive darts that will bounce off the wall and challenge angles as you swing them, darts that you're using in the moment, not necessarily a dart that's on a lineup. Those are good to know too, but being able to gauge how a dart is gonna bounce, where it's gonna land, and do that on the fly in a number of dynamic situations is what separates okay Sovas from amazing ones. Last up, we do gotta talk about Skye, and one thing that I will say is oftentimes people will pop Seekers and then they'll just run in with it when it's too easy to deal with, and then you're just gonna get killed after the fact. I would say that after the Seekers especially lock onto someone, combine it with the Flash so that they can't deal with both the Seekers and the Flash, and it's basically a guaranteed kill. The next up, we do gotta talk about Duelists, and the first one I want to talk about is Neon, and a lot of people still get the Neon movement wrong. This is what you need to do. If you are trying to move in any direction, you need to jump. The second you hit the ground, you tap the slide and the direction you want to go in, and you can instantly do it to the right, to the left, behind you. And if you're jumping on something that is like a ground, a box, any high ground position, you can slide off those things too. So that's when you see those people, they jump from one high ground to the next, hit it, and then they slam like back in their slide, and then they slide off of it. But you can also do it while standing on the ground, but the timing's a little bit more severe. But just practice it in the server, just practice your movement, and honestly, you can get all the fundamentals in like 30 minutes if you just keep at it. The next up, let's talk about ISO, and I would say specifically with ISO's ultimate, you need to make sure that you are ulting for value regardless of whether you lose or win. If you're playing a default and you just see someone and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna 1v1 you, this is too much of a gamble. It doesn't really matter how much of an advantage you have in that fight or if you think you're gonna win, because really if you lose that duel, you just cost your team the round and you wasted an ultimate too. So why not snag someone that's back a side, or snag a Sentinel, or snag an Opper, snag someone that when you remove them, your team gets to take space and get value no matter what happens in the 1v1, and ideally they'll still be able to kill the person after they pop out of the 1v1 even if they beat you. Next up, let's talk about Phoenix, and I think the biggest mistake that Phoenix players make is they heal way too much. You heal with your wall, you heal with your molly, and I understand that healing is nice, getting a little bit of extra HP is nice, but a molly that can clear a cubby force movement or a wall that denies line of sight is way more value on average than just a tiny bit of HP, and the vast majority of the time the HP is not worth it at all. Next up, let's talk about Jett, and one thing that I would say is when you're entering onto site, make sure that you're not afraid to use a secondary smoke to just delay your engage. So you smoked once, you dashed into it. Oftentimes the Jett will instant peek, but their team are still dealing with utility and trying to get out of the choke. So oftentimes you just want to sit there, throw another smoke to double up on your location, give yourself a couple extra seconds to wait there so that the enemy are still like waiting for you to make a move. They're just standing there, but there's a lot of pressure on them because your team is about to catch up to you. So if you pop out too soon, then they can deal with you and then deal with your team. That's not what you want. You want to put them between a rock and a hard place, and sometimes that means just using your secondary smoke to delay that engagement, and it's super great. Next thing, let's talk about Raze, and make sure that you're allowing your Raze satchel to fully charge up before you pop it, or it won't break utility. This means you can't destruct it at all early if you want to break a large amount of utility, and if you do pop it early, it's really not going to be worth the effort to try to break utility with it, or else you're going to have to use like 2 satchels or a satchel and a lot of damage. So keep that in mind. Raze is not as consistent at dealing with utility as she was before. Next up, let's talk about Yoru, and something that we're seeing a lot in ranked and in even meta play is Yoru sniping. This is mainly because Yoru can opt from one position, take a shot, teleport with a lineup to the other side of the map, and then he's sniping the other side of the map, and Yoru constantly keeps the opponents guessing. So Yoru's actually able to abuse this by seemingly being everywhere at once, which is really cool. Next off, let's talk about Reyna, and one thing that I will say is when you're using Reyna, make sure that you're thinking about the exact angle you're going to challenge before you flash. Oftentimes Reynas will get in a habit where they always flash high or always flash low. Don't autopilot your flash location. Think about exactly where the blind is going to cover and where it's going to clear before you use it, and try to be dynamic with where you're placing it. Now, last up, let's talk about Sentinels. First off, let's talk about Sage. And one of the big mistakes that all these Sage players make is they waste their utility right off rip. So, like, split mid, for example, they will, like, instantly see enemies, they'll wall, and then a little bit of pressure, and then it's like a slow, and then you used all your utility in, like, the first freaking 15 seconds of the game. It's not enough. You need to be a little greedier with your utility. Sometimes that means you need to jiggle more. Sometimes that means you need to spray more. But what it means most of all is you need to be more patient with your utility use, because you need it to last you the whole round, and it can't just be dumped all at once right away. The next up, let's talk about Deadlock. And the thing that I would say that you should do on Deadlock is actually put your sound sensor on the bombs, because what this does is the second someone goes and tries to defuse the bomb, they're going to instantly trigger that sound with the bomb defusal sound. So even if they're sneaking up trying to do it, it's going to trigger it, and then the sound sensor is going to pop. It's actually pretty strong. Next up, let's talk about Killjoy. And something that a lot of players are afraid to do on Killjoy is gather information with the turret. They put their turret really far back. They don't want it to be destroyed, but it's really passive, and it's almost too passive to get value in time. It's going to gather information way too late. The opponent's already traded out, got sight control, and that's just not enough, because while Killjoy turret can stall the enemy and gets value, it's not more important than getting information to your teammates. Next up, let's talk about Cypher. And the thing that is super important to do on Cypher is, if you can, try to save at least one cage to use dynamically after you have your setup. Like, it's okay sometimes to use both your trips and one cage, but it's super important to have a secondary cage in retake situations, or in even situations where you're being pushed. You don't know how you're going to be pushed. You could be pushed all kinds of different ways. Being able to cage off, play around your cage is really one of the things that allow you to have a lot of skill expression on site. So definitely try to preserve a cage if you can. Now, last but certainly not least, on Chamber, one of the things that a lot of Chamber players do completely wrong is they're not taking any risks. In a lot of ways, Chamber is like gathering information with only his eyes, right? That means you need to be pushed up, you need to be gathering information, holding these aggressive angles, trying to get a kill and then teleport away. If you're playing really far back, especially if you're not specifically sniping and you're just playing really passive, trying to take these duels and like run away from far distancing, you're not doing the job of a Sentinel. You're not gathering any information, and you're probably doing nothing for your team utility wise. But if you want to quickly master any of these agents with a click of the button, SkillCapped.com has the best agent guides you'll find anywhere. Whether you're really trying to learn the basics of these characters, to mastering positioning and how to take individual fights in your rank, check out SkillCapped.com right now in the links down below.